please stop talking, especially when you're outside of a home or inside of a home during an open house. Stop giving away all of your leverage. Okay, so in this video, we're gonna actually learn about the tactful way to respond to a house that might actually be the perfect house for you, but don't give it all away, because you're literally giving away all of your negotiating power. And if that sounds too dramatic, maybe you're doing these tiny little things and you don't even know, and this video is just for you. Because buyers are losing leverage in ways they don't even realize. And I get it, trust me. I get really excited about things out in the world too. You should see me around a really cute pair of shoes. There's no negotiating happening there. But during a showing, or in an open house, or on the phone with an agent, because I've quite literally had some of you say, hey, I only like dealing with the listing agent. Okay, do that. But when you do that, don't give away all of your leverage, because good agents are trained in the art of negotiation and sales. And if that is not your day-to-day, if that's not your day-to-day skills that you have honed in on, then you're going to give away way more than you realize. And I hope this video helps you. I have been in this business long enough to know that what you say during a real estate negotiation matters just as much as what you put on paper in an offer. And I've condensed it to about 5 things. Every single example here is something that I have experienced in person. There are plenty more, and this is not coming from a place of judgment or meaning any, harm or disrespect. Just be aware when we're going into a real estate negotiation, because it's not always obvious, as you're going to see in this video. So if you've been looking for a while, if you're considering making an offer, if you're wondering why your offers aren't sticking, or maybe there's a tactic you haven't tried before, this video is for you, in case nobody sat you down and told you before you started the offer process. Hey, in case we haven't met before, my name is Varsha and I assist families in buying and selling real estate in Guelph and the Greater Toronto Area. And we do so even during changing markets, meaning when there's some uncertainty in the air, we make data-backed decisions. And if I can be of help to you, please click on the link in the description below and schedule a call. Okay, so the very first thing that I have to say, and it's likely the most expensive one, is when you've gone to an open house yourself. Okay, a lot of times buyer clients will say, hey, we're just going to go drive around and see if this is the right fit, if this is the right home. And I encourage them to do so because there's some uncertainty. They're not sure if they actually want to lay roots there. So go to the open house, right? And you so sweetly go to the open house and somehow the home checks off so many of your boxes and the listing agent is there, or at least the agent representation for the seller is there. And in that moment, you turn to your partner and say out loud, in the kitchen, this is it. I love this house. This is our house. And I get it. That's excitement. You feel it viscerally. However, the listing agent is standing not far from you. And that information, that beautiful excitement that you felt, that full body yes moment, that information is going back to the seller. Listen to me, this is not gossip. This is what any good listing agent is doing. They are representing the seller's best interests. So you know what that beautiful yes that you had in that kitchen does? It gives them a strategic move, because you're likely going to say, hey, I'm working with my agent. Here's their information. And once they get a call from me, it is going to be part of the conversation. It is going to be, hey, your clients responded really well to the home. Tell me where we're at, right? They use that. And that's an effective strategy. That's what it is. The seller's agent is legally obligated to uphold their seller client's best interests. And their best interest just got a little bit easier to serve because now they know you have a bit of an emotional connect to the home. I helped clients move to Guelph and they were so excited that they even went to the open house, okay? And that's where it started. They went to the open house and one of them actually took out the measuring tape and started measuring out the dining table, the dimensions. There's floor plans on the MLS that were provided, but to measure out where would this table go, where would this sofa go at the open house, all right? And if this is you, I want you to be excited about the home, but use your inside voice and do not take a measuring tape to the open house. Don't do it. Schedule a private showing and come back with your representation. Okay, do that in the quiet presence of your agent where there aren't the watchful eyes of the selling or listing agent. Because in that case, when I got to the table to negotiate the best offer for those clients, the agent came in firm on a counter offer because they had already remembered that tape measure moment. And I'm not saying that tape measure moment is be all end all. What I am saying is you're quietly giving away some of your leverage and you're showing them just how connected you are to the space all. Save those moments for private moments with you and your agent. All this to say, if someone were to ask you at an open house, like the listing agent asks you, so how do you like the home? Just say it's good. It's a good home. Maybe we'll take another look with our agent, right? Like keep it really simple and neutral. And your enthusiasm is valid. Trust me, I'm an excitable person myself. Just do it outside of the showing. Okay, next. And this one is actually a little sneaky because it feels like a really smart, well thought out question. And you're excited. Okay. And so one of the questions you ask me or you ask your buying agent is, hey, find out exactly what number, how low the sellers are willing to come. Okay. It's been done. Trust me, it's been done. I get that question quite often. And I've probably even used that question in the past, right? What are your sellers' expectations? Or in other words, how low? Like maybe asking what are your sellers' expectations is a better way of phrasing it. I've had people point blank ask how low are your clients willing to go? And you know what that does when you ask that or have your agent ask that? If the buying agent, so if your agent, because you're the buyer, goes ahead and asks the listing agent that question, the listing agent may, and I'm not saying they do every time, but they may deliver that information to the seller, who is then alert because they're coming in with a lowball offer. And is that really the foot you want to lead with? Like you've already placed that in the mind of the seller before you've even made an offer. So here's what to do instead, okay? Because in that question, if you're asking your agent to find out, hey, how low are the sellers willing to go? You also want to know, at the crux of that is basically you don't want to overpay for a property. And you know what helps with that? Comparable sales, data in the neighborhood, data of the city, and any kind of trajectory over the last 30 days, 60 days, maybe 90 days if it's a really unique property, to see what is this property worth it, right? Because you ultimately don't want to overpay as a buyer. So what helps is having some data. We pull comparable sales and we see what has actually moved in the last 30 to 60 days. What are days on market telling you? Focus on that. What is the sale to list price ratio in that neighborhood, in that region? Okay, because that tells a strong story too. If properties are being offloaded at 98% of list price, that tells you have 2% leverage. Okay. And then you start using those data points to build your offer, as opposed to asking a question that any good seller agent, any good listing agent is never going to tell you what their client's their floor of their listing price is. They're never going to tell you that. All that to say, present a data backed offer, look at the sale to list price ratio, look at the number of days it's been on market, and then make a strategic offer, which shows you're a well thought out buyer here, and that opens the conversation to negotiation. That's how negotiation is done. Now, this next one may not seem so obvious. However, I do try and counsel clients from being so forthright with this information. Okay. Your deadlines can be used as leverage. So when you tell a listing agent or via your agent, and you let them know that, hey, there's a bit of a rush. I have to relocate because I have a new job and I need to move in the next 30 days. Or you let them know you want to get the kids settled in before the school year starts. Or there's travel plans, and so closing in the next 60 days is ideal. While all of those things may feel like you're building rapport and you're giving them a little bit of information so we can use that as part of the negotiation, what you've essentially done is hand the seller like a timer, like a countdown clock to your life. Like, what is a motivating factor for you, especially if you're in a lease and you've already handed in your notice and they know that you have 60 days, and every single day that goes by is the clock keeps ticking and your deadline just keeps getting closer, and that window keeps closing a little bit more. So when it comes to deadlines, I'm going to suggest you keep that on the inside. You and your agent know your deadline internally, and so we play within it, because it is better as a buyer to be in a position where you've presented an offer and said, hey, here's our offer, especially in a market like today where inventory in certain segments are quite high and you have true negotiating power when it comes to price and terms. Presenting an offer that you kind of are saying, take it or leave it, essentially, if it's a data-backed offer. And if the seller chooses to engage with it, they're doing so given the merit of your offer, and they don't have anything else in their mind. Like, hey, these guys really need to close in the next 60 days, so maybe I'll push back and sign at this, right? You don't want to give them that leverage. So when it comes to deadlines, keep it on the inside. Your agent knows, your agent has your back through the process and should Also monitor those deadlines just as closely as you are. Just don't give that information to the seller prematurely. There's no need for it, especially in a market that presents options. And this next one, I have heard from clients myself because we've probably formed a relationship for a year where we've been looking for a property and it hasn't landed. Now, mind you, we're not actively looking all year long because nobody has the stamina for that. But this comes from exhaustion, okay? Where you've been looking, say, for the last 6 or 8 months, and it's worse when you've even written some offers and you've lost on a couple of offers, right? So you're feeling a little defeated. You're a little exhausted. Everything starts to blend together in the market. You're kind of losing sight of your deal breaker list. Maybe that's even shifted. It's all part and parcel of the real estate process if you've been in it for a long time. And so when you happen to walk into an open house because somehow that has become your weekend activity and a listing agent asks you, hey, how's your search going? Or when you're just even making conversation with an agent, that comes out. You frustratedly say, hey, we've been looking for 6 months or we've been looking for a year and we've made some offers. It didn't work out. We're really hoping this one works. You tell them that. Okay, maybe that was a bit harsh. You just tell them that. And I get it. Like, I truly do get it. It's been hard. But here's what that listing agent or seller representation hears. Okay, the buyers are tired. They've lost before and they really want this to work. That directly translates to we don't have to negotiate as hard. In a buyer's market where most pockets of Guelph and the Greater Toronto area are sitting in, you actually have options. There are other homes. You can have conditions, you can walk away. That's actual power. Like, that's real leverage for you as a buyer. So when someone asks you, maybe responding with, hey, we're being really thoughtful about it. We're being careful about our decision here. We've seen a lot of good properties. All of that is true. I would maybe lead with that instead. We don't want to give anything away in a negotiation. Okay, and finally, maybe stemming from sheer exhaustion, I've even heard clients say this one thing. They're like, just do whatever it takes. Have you ever used that? It's like, okay, you know our budget, but here, maybe we can go up to this point, but just do whatever it takes, right? That doesn't really give a lot of clarity in a back and forth negotiation, because what your agent needs, what your buying agent needs is, yes, a true snapshot of your buying power. Absolutely. We need to know what you're pre-approved for, what the lender is going to back you for, what if there's appraisal issues, where is that extra money going to come from? We're going to need to know your financial power here. Absolutely. But in a negotiation where the home is absolutely everything you've dreamed of and you have a little bit of flexibility in your budget that you know of, you're going to want to build that trusted relationship with your agent and have a conversation with them. Okay, that is building trust. It's knowing, hey, I want to stay at X. This is my comfort zone. Okay, but for that dream property that checks in all of the boxes, I might even be willing to go to Y. Okay, this is information that you want to share with your agent because A, it tells them, okay, I have a little bit of a range. Let me keep this in my mind when I'm asking those pointed, specific questions of the listing agent and find out what seller motivation is and find out if there's any other interest on the property. And it also keeps them in that range, which is to your benefit. Saying do whatever it takes doesn't automatically mean they're going to go to the top end of your budget. Okay? Saying do whatever it takes, but giving a range keeps you within that affordability that you can manage on a monthly basis. Because let's be honest, a mortgage amortized over 25 years, nobody's really going to look at, but you want to know what your life is like, that monthly cost. And it's so important to give your agent clear numbers, clear instructions. Because at the end of the day, if it is the perfect property and you haven't come up to Y and you stayed at X and Y was very much within your affordability, actually, you may not sleep at night and you will forever think of that home. Okay. And that's something to think of. It's, hey, at what cost are you willing to let go of this property? This is how we make thoughtful decisions. None of what I've shared here today is really complicated, but no one really teaches it to clients, through to buyers when you're walking through properties and actively having to make negotiations, or say you're going to open houses. Don't say too much. And this is beyond, at this point, I think everyone should just understand that they're under surveillance when they're viewing properties. So just don't say anything at the front door. Don't walk through homes and say stuff. There's probably baby monitors. There are definitely Ring doorbell and other kinds of security measures. Just don't say a lot. Look at the home, maybe make some, neutral comments. That's absolutely fine. But anything that has to do with offers, money, loving the home, not liking the home even, changes and modifications you'll make, save that for a conversation with your agent where you have a debrief after, away from the property. So buyers, you have leverage in this market. What do I mean by that? You've got a lot of choice. Conditions are very much a part of the offer process. Days on market are going a little bit higher. So that means you can make well thought out decisions and start crafting offers, data-backed offers that work for your life. Use it. And you're allowed to fall in love with a property. Just do it quietly. Use your inside voice. And if you're in the middle of a search right now and want a second opinion, please click on the link below or drop it in the comments, and I would love to walk you through your search before you write an offer.